Hello good people and welcome to another episode of Money Matters with Excel. Here we show you tips and tricks on how you can use Microsoft Excel to manage your finances. In this episode, we'll learn how to create a budget in Excel and analyze it. So if you are game, join me in Excel and let's go through this in a few minutes. In our previous episodes, we've gone through how to lay out your table properly to record your actual income and expenses. We went on to learn how to create a data validation to assign your categories. In our last video, we learned how to analyze your top 5 expenses and your top 5 income lines using two options, the pivot table and the analyze data feature. Now, what we want to do in this episode is to create a budget that will make it easier for us to compare our actuals and budget side by side. So we'll go through that process and then we'll show you how to get that done. So typically this is the layout for the budget. You have your categories, which includes your income lines and your expenses in one column. And then you have the type to give you further details or dimensions on the category. You can add on as you want to describe this category. Usually we put the timeline across. Okay. We lay it out this way so that it makes it easier for us to input the numbers. So for this purpose, I'm going to generate some random numbers here. So I highlight this range and the function to do that is run between, putting in a lower point of 100 and 5,000, control enter. So this generates a random set of numbers for me to use in my budget. I'm going to stabilize these numbers by pasting special values. So this is what I have. Now, with this layout, if you want to analyze by category or by month, you can get it done, but it becomes very challenging because the months are spread across in 12 columns. So a better way to do this is to rearrange the table so that at least you can have all the categories in one column, the type in one column, the date or months in another column, and then the amount in another column. This makes it very easy for you to use either pivot tables or any calculations you want to do on it easier. Now to do this, we are going to transform this in the shape that we've just described, and we are going to use Excel's Power Query to do that. So when you go to the ribbon, you see under data, in the get and transform, you see the option to load this from a table or range depending on the version that you are using. So I'm going to load this into Power Query. So what Power Query does is that you are able to connect it to any source data, transform it, shape clean it, and then you are able to load back that transformed data either in a table, pivot table, or as a connection. We'll go through all that very soon. So here I have my table. My goal is to make these two columns stay and then collapse these two elements, that is the timeline, which includes dates, and the values, one into a date column and the other into an amount column. So this process is called unpivoting. So as I've highlighted these two columns, I'll right click and here I have the option to unpivot other columns. So when I do this, I now have my category type. This I'm going to name date, and then I have my amount here. Okay, now in the Power Query setting, you need to ensure that your data type is set to the appropriate data type you want the column to show. So here for date, we want to show it as date. So we go in the top left corner icon and then we set this as date. Okay, so just like that, I have my table rearranged. It's the same content. So I'm going to load it back into our table. In the top left section, you see close and load to. So there are options here. Close and load will load it directly to your default setting. And here you have options. So I'll choose close and load to. And these are my options. So for this purpose, I'm going to just dump it below so that you see side by side how this looks like. So I'll bring this here as a table and I click OK. So now, if you compare this layout to the one that we have, okay, a layout like this makes it easier for us to use pivot tables to analyze, even though it's the same data. So now at this point, what I'm going to do is to bring back my query pane and then change the load here, which is now a table, into a pivot table. Okay, so I'm going to create a pivot table directly out of this, and I'm going to place it side by side our transactions sheet. Even though in the future we are going to create a dashboard out of this, I just want to show you that this is possible. So I'll dump this here and then I'll click OK. So I'll ignore this warning and then I have this. So to create a pivot table, I'll start with the amount and then I'm going to analyze this with category in rows. Okay, and I'll have my type here as a filter, and this is similar to what I have here if I clear the filter here. Okay, so here you have your expense, which is your actual on one side, and then you have your budget, which is on the other side. So with this, you can now compare. Even though this is not the best way to do this, it gives you an idea that if you lay out your budget and you want to create pivot tables out of it, you can use this method to compare your actuals and your budget side by side. I must say the ideal way to do this is to load this into Power Pivot, connect the tables, and then you are able to use DAX functions to compare this side by side. If you like, you can use cube functions as well. Please practice and add it to your list of Excel tricks. For more of these short videos, you can send ad to this WhatsApp number. We'll add you to our broadcast list so you receive our videos directly on your phones. All our old videos are on our YouTube channel, Find Skills Hub. Please visit, subscribe for notification of new videos, or connect with us on any of these social media handles. Thank you so much for watching.